All right, let's dive into West Side Story. A classic. Iconic, even. We've got a lot to unpack.
Well, we do.
We do? We got Ebert's take, of course. Can't skip that. Plus, some interesting data from AFI and IMDb.
Always love a good data point.
And to get really behind the scenes, we've got a documentary about the making of the film.
Oh, a peek behind the curtain. That's always fun.
But here's the thing. West Side Story. It's a bit of a head-scratcher, you know.
Oh, how so?
Best Picture. Won it back in '61. Big deal.
Absolutely.
But it gets slammed, too. Even by people who like it. It's weird.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Complicated.
So that's what we're trying to figure out today.
Right.
Why is it still so fascinating if it's so flawed?
Well, I think musicals back then are a good place to start. Ebert talks about singing in the rain.
Right.
Everybody loves that one, right? And I think there's a reason for that.
It's just fun. Pure escapism.
Exactly. Pure escapism. And the world needed that back then. Post-war, economic troubles, people wanted to escape.
Makes sense.
But West Side Story, this one, it jumps right into the tough stuff.
No kidding. Gangs. Prejudice.
Tragedy.
The whole shebang.
Okay, so one's light and fluffy, the other, not so much. And I guess that shows in the rankings, right?
What do you mean?
AFI, the film industry folks, they love it. 41st, greatest film of all time.
Impressive.
But IMDb, regular moviegoers, not even in their top 250.
Ah, so a divide between the pros and the people. Interesting. What do you make of that?
Maybe the pros saw the artistry, the ambition. And the average viewer, maybe it just felt a bit preachy.
Like Ebert said.
Yeah, exactly. So that leads to the next big question. Does the social commentary even work?
$1,000,000 question. Really? I mean, it tackles prejudice, poverty.
Still relevant today, sadly.
Unfortunately, yes. But is it nuanced? Or is it just, black and white? Some critics say it oversimplifies things.
Right, but others say it sparked important conversations.
Back then, for sure. Open some eyes.
Yeah, bold but maybe too simple. And then there's the whole Shakespeare thing.
Oh, right, Romeo and Juliet. Exactly. Ends with a double suicide. Makes you really feel the pointlessness of the feud.
Right, the tragedy.
But West Side Story. They changed it. Tony bites the dust, but Maria, she lives. Even picks up his gun before dropping it.
Whoa. Big change. Why do you think they did that?
That's the question, isn't it? Some say it weakens the tragedy, makes it more palatable for the masses.
I could see that. Watering it down.
But maybe they were going for something else. Hope.
Hope.
Yeah, like maybe Maria living means the cycle of violence can be broken.
Interesting. Different, that's for sure. Adds another layer. Complicates things. I like it.
It makes you think, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And speaking of different takes, the critics were all over the place with this one. Pauline Kael, you know her,
Sharp as a tack, pulls no punches.
called it frenzied hokum.
Wow. Okay.
But then you have Stanley Kaufman. Thought it was brilliant. One of the best musicals ever.
And he's no pushover.
No, he isn't. But even he had issues with the ending. So what do we make of such different reactions?
I think it shows how much this film gets under your skin. It provokes something. Good, bad, somewhere in between.
Gets a reaction, that's for sure. So we have this clash. Groundbreaking, but criticized.
The paradox of West Side Story.
Exactly. Now let's go behind the scenes. You mentioned a documentary.
Oh, yeah. And it shows this big clash between the director, Robert Wise, and the choreographer, Jerome Robbins.
Really?
Big time. Robbins. Visionary, totally. But the guy was a perfectionist.
I can only imagine.
Push those dancers hard. Take after take after take.
Those dance scenes are something else, though.
Oh, they're incredible, breathtaking. But that perfectionism, it took a toll.
Yeah, I bet.
There's that scene, the dancers on the fence?
So iconic.
Yeah.
Effortless.
Right. But the athleticism, the precision, insane. And even Kael, Miss Frenzied Hokum herself, she couldn't deny the power of those dances.
Amazing. Even she had to admit it.
Yeah.
And there's the music. Bernstein.
Oh, Bernstein. Brilliant. But complex.
Those time signatures.
Yeah, the dancers must have been cursing him.
I bet. So complex.
But that's what makes it so groundbreaking. They weren't afraid to break the mold. Robbins, Bernstein, they pushed boundaries.
Really different from traditional Broadway stuff.
Oh, yeah. This was raw, energetic. It fit the story perfectly. The urban grit.
So innovative. On every level.
Absolutely.
But, okay, we got to talk about the casting.
Oh, boy. There we go.
Natalie Wood as Maria.
Not Puerto Rican, voice dubbed.
And Richard Beymer as Tony.
Some people thought he was too soft, not menacing enough.
Yeah, there's some definite issues there.
Absolutely. Can't deny that.
Looking back, it's tricky.
You can't ignore the historical context,
Yeah, different time.
But Wood brought something to the role, right?
A certain charm, I guess.
Vulnerability and their chemistry. You can't fake that. It's there.
All right, I'll give you that.
And let's not forget the standouts.
Rita Moreno and George Chakiris. Electrifying.
Especially Moreno. Anita. Oh, man.
That scene in Docs
Heartbreaking.
goes from supportive friend to just shattered.
Shattered. Powerful scene. Pivotal. Dramatically and thematically, you feel it.
Moreno just owns that scene.
She does. Raw emotion. Captivating.
Oscar-worthy, for sure. And she won.
A milestone. Absolutely.
Now, even Cale had to admit the opening prologue.
Oh, yeah.
Brilliant. Just pure brilliance.
What works so well there, I think, is that it's all visual. Before any words are spoken, you get it. The characters, the rivalry, the whole world. Robbins is a master at conveying emotion through movement, and the editing is top-notch.
Like a ballet, but gritty.
Streetwise.
Exactly. Get this. Someone compared it to a scene in Yojimbo, Kurosawa.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I love when you see those connections. Different films, different cultures, but the same innovative spirit. It's fascinating.
So West Side Story. A mixed bag, for sure.
Definitely a mixed bag. But that's what keeps us talking, isn't it? Keeps us thinking, keeps us debating. And over 60 years later, that's saying something.
And maybe that's the key, right? Those big universal themes.
Love and hate, prejudice, violence.
Unfortunately, still relevant.
Oh, yeah. Always. But it hits differently when it's through music and dance.
You're right. It's not just talking about prejudice. It's feeling it. In the melody, in the movement. Powerful stuff.
Think about that Tonight Quintet, the Jets, the Sharks, Tony, Maria, Anita, all those hopes and fears swirling together.
Oh, man. That music. Bernstein.
A whirlwind, right? Like everything's about to explode, longing, defiance, fear. He captures it all.
You can feel the tension building. But let's be real, some parts haven't aged well.
Yeah, gotta be honest about that.
The way they portray Puerto Ricans, for one.
Some of those stereotypes.
Ugh.
Yikes. And the dialogue. A bit cringy sometimes.
For sure. But it was groundbreaking, too.
Oh, absolutely. You can't take that away from it.
One of the first big Hollywood films, so mostly Puerto Rican cast, and it tackled these issues head-on. Prejudice, discrimination.
Right in your face. And in that context, Rita Moreno's performance.
Amita. Oh, she's incredible.
A force of nature.
Depth, humanity. She just blew those stereotypes out of the water.
Pure talent. And that Oscar. Well-deserved. A historic win.
Definitely complicated. The legacy of this film.
A lot to unpack, for sure. But those melodies, though.
Oh, man. They get stuck in your head.
Maria. America. I feel pretty. Classics.
They're just so catchy. Why do you think Bernstein and Sondheim's music has lasted so long? What's the secret?
They tapped into something universal.
What do you mean?
The beauty of the music, the emotions. You feel that youthful energy, the excitement of first love, but also the darkness underneath.
The highs and the lows.
Exactly. One minute you're dancing in the streets, the next you're heartbroken. It's all there.
And it wasn't just about entertainment. The music, the dance, they were part of the story itself.
Oh, yeah. Cool. For example, the way they use choreography to show that bottled-up rage, brilliant.
Their bodies are speaking what their words can't.
And it works. Cool is a perfect example. That tension, that restrained energy, you can feel it about to explode.
Like a secret language.
A language of emotions. Raw, unspoken, powerful stuff.
But speaking of language, Sondheim's lyrics, brilliant as they are, even he had some clunkers.
Ha. Crew. Some of those rhymes, a little cheesy now.
A little dated.
But even then, there are moments of pure poetry. Somewhere. Heartbreaking, hopeful, longing for a better world.
And they added that song for the film, right? It wasn't in the play.
Right. It adds another layer, that song. Deeper meaning.
And anybody's. The tomboy who wants to be one of the Jets.
Another film edition.
It's a complex character, reflecting those anxieties about gender roles back then.
Pushing those boundaries, even if it wasn't always perfect.
Yeah, definitely a product of its time. But it also goes beyond that, doesn't it?
It does. It transcends its era. And that's why we're still talking about it, still captivated.
It's like it's holding up a mirror. To us. To society.
And making us face some hard truths about ourselves.
That's heartbreaking. Because those themes, they're still with us.
Oh, yeah. Gang violence, prejudice, inequality, it's all still there. We
Yeah.
might not have those choreographed rumbles.
Snapping our fingers.
But those tensions, the fear, the us versus them mentality, it's alive and well.
And that's what makes this film so powerful. It's a warning.
It's a commentary. And sadly, it's still relevant. Look around. The political climate, the rise of nationalism, the fight for justice.
Echoes of West Side Story everywhere.
And that's the point. It wasn't just about entertainment. It was meant to make us think, to challenge us.
To do better.
Exactly. To create a more just world, a world without those tragic endings.
So powerful. But it is a love story, too. A tragic one.
Tony and Maria, doomed from the start.
Victims of the hate around them.
And that ending, Maria living, it raises a lot of questions, doesn't it?
What if they'd stayed true to Shakespeare? The double suicide.
Would it have been even more impactful?
Some people think so. More tragic. More powerful.
But maybe the filmmakers were going for something else.
Hope.
Maybe. A chance for healing. For redemption, even after such a loss.
A glimmer of light in the darkness.
Exactly.
It's a choice that's definitely sparked debate.
And that's what's so great about this film. It makes you think. It makes you feel. It stays with you.
Decades later. And we're still dissecting it. Still arguing about it. Still moved by it. And we're back. Final act of our West Side Story deep dive. What a ride.
It's been something, that's for sure.
Groundbreaking. Problematic.
Yeah.
Praised. Criticized.
Yeah, it really runs the gamut.
But through it all, one thing's clear. West Side Story. It's more than just a musical.
It's a reflection of us.
Yep.
Of humanity, the good, the bad, and everything in between.
Those big questions, love, hate, belonging, the consequences of prejudice, violence, it's all there.
Front and center.
And when you think about how it changed filmmaking, whoa.
Oh, yeah. Revolutionary stuff.
Let's talk tech for a minute. The color.
The color.
Yeah, it's not just random. The jets, blues, greens, cool colors.
Right, right.
Sharks, reds, oranges, hot colors.
Adds another layer to the rivalry, doesn't it?
Usually. Totally. Shows their differences. But also that they're connected. Two sides of the same coin, in a way.
It's subtle but powerful.
And the editing. The way they cut back and forth during the prologue.
Between the jets and the sharks?
Yeah, like they're mirroring each other.
Parallel editing. Textbook Robbins, he was a master of that. Building the tension, showing that clash is inevitable.
Like it's fate.
Exactly. And again, that idea. Two sides of the same coin. Trapped.
Wow. So much thought went into every detail. It elevates the whole film. But circling back to the message, it really makes you look in the mirror, you know?
It does. Holds up a mirror to society, to us, makes us uncomfortable.
And maybe that's the point.
We might not have those street gangs snapping their fingers.
Thank goodness.
But the fear, the prejudice, it's still there. Look around. Us versus them. The struggle for power. It's the human story.
West Side Story just brings it to life. So vividly.
And that's why it's still relevant. Decades later. Because it's not just a story.
It's a warning.
It's a call to action, to be better, to fight for what's right, to build bridges.
To choose love over hate.
Exactly. So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this. Think about West Side Story. Not just as a movie, but as a challenge.
A challenge.
To think critically, to engage with its complexities, to see both the beauty and the flaws.
And to learn from it.
To create a world where stories like Tony and Maria's don't have to happen.
Powerful stuff. It's a film that stays with you long after the credits roll.
It makes you think, it makes you feel.
And it makes you want to act, to make a difference.
Absolutely.
So thanks for joining us on this deep dive into West Side Story. It's been real.
It has.
Until next time, keep those conversations going. Keep questioning. Keep exploring. And remember, we all have the power to choose a different ending.
Couldn't have said it better myself.